What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to College Football Talk with Peter Burtnett. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the top 5 non-conference games for the 2025 season in college football. There's a pretty obvious number 1, so I'm actually going to start with that first and then go work my way down from 1 through 5 with a couple honorable mentions at the end of this video. But if you go on to enjoy this video, please feel free to leave a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and turn on those post notifications so you're always up to date whenever I upload. But starting things out, again, the clear and obvious choice here at number 1, there's really no close second. There's a pretty good second game that I have, but nothing compares to Texas at Ohio State. Week 1 on August 30th. It's been announced as a noon kickoff on Fox, so big noon kickoff there, which is obviously a little bit of a disappointment. That game in prime time or even in the afternoon would have been amazing in Columbus. This is obviously a rematch of the 2025 Cotton Bowl, which was also the college football playoff semifinal in Arlington. It was a 28-14 Buckeyes win, really a well-balanced game, kind of a defensive battle that was sealed by a big defensive play, of course that being Jack Sawyer's scoop and score. The Longhorns this year, though, they're, I think, probably the number 1 team heading into the season. I think they're probably likely to be the preseason number 1. I think Ohio State, obviously, as the defending champs, have a really good case for that. But Steve Sarkisian as head coach, and obviously the Arch Manning era will be beginning in Austin, but I guess technically first it starts in Columbus. This is a big game, and of course the Buckeyes are still the reigning champs. They've got some good guys on both sides of the ball, including the 2 guys who I think are the best in college football, with Jeremiah Smith at wide receiver and safety Caleb Downs. The winner of this game will either remain or be thrust into the number 1 ranking. They'll also have a huge win, a resume booster for their college football playoff hopes, and really I think what'll remain the best win of the regular season. Obviously in this expanded field that doesn't hold as much weight, but this could decide seeding, or if one of these teams takes a little bit of a step back, this could be a game that puts the money to the right side or the wrong side of the cut line. So this is a big game. I'm excited to preview it more as the season gets closer, but in this video, just kind of going through these games in order. Coming in at number 2 for me is LSU at Clemson. This is also week 1, August 30th. This is going to be a 7:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff in Clemson, South Carolina at Death Valley. A battle of tigers in this one. Clemson, I think, has probably one of, if not the best, returning cores in college football this coming season. While on the flip side, the question is, will LSU be able to compete for the college football playoff? Again, similarly, I mean, that's kind of the theme in games like this. This is a huge resume booster for either one of these Tigers teams. This is also going to be a really good quarterback matchup because LSU has Garrett Nussmeier, who's coming back for another season, and then Clemson has Cade Klubnik. This should be a really good matchup to see at the quarterback position. Both of these teams, especially Clemson, have solid defenses. I think LSU's has left a little bit to be desired, but this is going to be a fun game to watch too. Also in week 1 is Notre Dame at Miami. This is on Sunday, August 31st. Also a 7:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. This one's in Miami. And just kind of real quickly on that, I love how all but one of these games, actually all 5 of these games that I'm going to talk about, are at a home venue, I guess you could call it. They're not at a neutral site. They're on campus. I think that's a massive positive. Sometimes these big early season games are put at, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta or maybe in Arlington at Jerry World in the past. So I like to see these type of games being played on campuses. I think it really brings a different type of energy. So this one, Notre Dame at Miami, it's the defending college football playoff runners-up against Carson Beck's Miami Hurricanes. So the question for the Fighting Irish is, can they keep the momentum rolling? Obviously, Marcus Freeman is probably the top young head coach, and this season he's going to have really good running back play with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. And for Miami, the question is, will Carson Beck be able to kind of break out of the slump that he had last year? He had a really good season 2 years ago, but kind of took a step back last year. And the other question is, can he bring back the U out of kind of college football playoff purgatory? They've been a good team. They've certainly not been a great team, and they lose a lot of those games that really they should probably win. Some other key games for both of these teams. Notre Dame is also at home against Texas A&M. That should be an interesting game. And then obviously their rivalry game against USC, also at home on October 18th. If the Fighting Irish win this one, I think they will be a lock for the college football playoff, assuming they don't have a blip on their schedule like the Marshall, Northern Illinois games that they've had in the past. For Miami, they also have a couple of, I think, pretty big games. They're home against Florida. That was a game that very easily could have made this top 5, and really, I think, is kind of in a tie for the game that I have at 5. And they're also at SMU November 1st. So Notre Dame Miami is a big game to look forward to this season early on, where the winner will be in good position for the college football playoff, especially for Notre Dame because they're not in that conference. If they lose this one, they're in a more precarious position right from the jump. At number 4 is Michigan at Oklahoma. This is September 6th in Norman, Oklahoma. The Wolverines obviously finished 2024 very strong, and for Sharon Moore, this is going to be a homecoming. He was a Sooner in college, and so he will be returning to Norman with his Wolverines. After this game, he'll be serving that 2-game suspension, but this is going to be a big game for them. I think for Michigan, their schedule really sets up for 1 or 2 losses at most. I'll probably pop it up here on screen, but just kind of taking a quick look over it. It's a very winnable schedule. You know, they get a couple of their big games at home, and they don't face some of the big guys like Oregon this season or even Penn State. So that sets up nicely for them. OU, meanwhile, is looking to improve from a very disappointing 6-7 season. They had a very tough SEC schedule, and they kind of have one along similar lines this year. But a win here could keep them in the college football playoff race. A loss, and I think they might already be out just based on how their schedule sets up, because they later are going to be against Texas at the Cotton Bowl, obviously that neutral site game, at South Carolina October 18th, and then at Tennessee and Bama back-to-back with a bye week in the middle, November 1st and November 15th. They're also hosting Ole Miss, and they will be hosting LSU in the regular season finale November 29th. So I really see for Oklahoma, at best, probably 3 losses in there. Maybe they can get by with 2 in those games I mentioned, but if you lose this game to Michigan, that's probably 3 losses, and based on how things went last year, that probably has them just on the outside looking in of the college football playoff. Finally, my number 5 game, and then I'll go over a couple honorable mentions. Clemson at South Carolina. This is a regular season finale, obviously the Palmetto Bowl on November 29th in Columbia. Last year, Lenora Sellers led the Gamecocks to a win in Death Valley, 17-14. Obviously, South Carolina's defense was also huge in that one. This game could decide the college football playoff fates for both teams. I think it's not as consequential for Clemson because they're likely to be in the ACC championship game, so they'll have a chance to get into the playoff just by an automatic bid by winning that. But South Carolina in the SEC, it's going to be a lot tougher for them to get to that game. So this is one where if they're at 2 or maybe even 3 losses and they win this one, I think they make a strong case for being in the college football playoff. They've also got a neutral site game against Virginia Tech on August 31st. That's a Sunday. And then they're also going to be at LSU and home against Alabama. Both those games are in October. So those are my top 5 games in non-conference play this season. A couple other ones that I'm interested to watch. Obviously, I mentioned earlier Florida at Miami. It's a good Sunshine State game. You've got Tennessee at Syracuse. Those are 2 teams that are on the outside looking in, but a win in this one will give them an early boost into potentially making the college football playoff. Alabama at Florida State. Most years, especially in the 2010s, really, this game would have been huge. It would have been marked as a top 5 game going into the season, but FSU, we know what happened to them last year, and even Alabama disappointed as well. But this game, the winner of this one will be set up to definitely get their fans, going more in a positive direction after disappointing seasons last year. And finally, there are a few others I could go over, but kind of out of the top games, Texas A&M at Notre Dame is also an exciting game to look forward to. That was a good game last year, and it should be again in South Bend this year. But that is all for this episode of College Football Talk with Peter Burtnett. Stay tuned for a lot more post-spring content. I'll probably be coming out soon with my post-spring top 25. I know that's maybe a little bit behind when other people have been publishing that, but I'll be posting that soon, or at the very least the top 10. So stay tuned for that and a lot more content coming in soon as we're starting to inch little by little a little bit closer to the college football season. But that's all for this episode of College Football Talk. I'm your host, Peter Burnett, signing out. Peace.